Okay, so this next one's pretty cool because it's the title of it is this family has been making honey wine for 150 years.
150, 5 generations.
One family's been doing it, which is, I think that's cool because there's a lot of times, obviously, mead making is like a hobby, and I don't know that many people pass it down. But specifically, the Lipman family, this is Rachel Lipman, who I guess is about 28, is the youngest one of this family. Is keeping this tradition alive, which is pretty cool to me to be able to pass that down. And they have 14, let's say, wines available. Oh, there was I think they do wine.
Yeah, they do wine and mead.
And mead, because specifically it says among the varieties, they include a Sizer, a Piment, and I think that was it for their meads, but they do a lot of wines too.
I think it's really cute how the article explains what those are.
I'm about that though.
Mead with apples.
Well, like there's a lot of times where if you say like Piment, people are like, what the heck are you talking about? What's a Piment? So I'm for that.
Yeah, and she talks about how they're doing a lot of the stuff dry too, because there's a misconception that mead is like sugary sweet, and so she's trying to like kind of cut through that and say this can be kind of whatever you want it to be.
That is the thing. I feel like most people who, every time someone brings me a mead, it's like, this is so good. It is like 98% going to be dry, or excuse me, sweet. Mm-hmm. There's like a low chance that it's dry, and that's mostly because I feel like it's just harder to make a good dry mead.
And we were talking about after both Valkyrie's Horn and Mazer that we a little bit believe that judges for some of these folks that have been judging for a while, their palates have like tuned up to sweetness. And so you had a mead that was 1.0 dry. Dry. And yours got judged as being too sweet for style, right?
And I feel a little frustrated by that. I feel like
what?
I got punished for keeping honey character in my mead, because I feel like it was a combination of the honey floral and then the alcohol, which can sometimes have perceived sweetness with it. I feel like it was those things just combining together, and then they were like, "Oh, this is too sweet for it to be dry." So, they don't have a hydrometer. They're not reading that. They're just going off of their palate, which is fine. But I tasted that mead afterwards after looking at my feedback, and I was like, I see what they mean, but I don't personally believe it was sweetness necessarily.
Well, and there's another colleague of ours who entered a mead. It was 1.02 that had been judged as a dry mead. We had judged it as a dry mead previously, but it feels like sweetness out of all of the balancing elements seems to be the one that's just totally up for interpretation by whoever's
clearly
tasting it at the time.
I mean, and that's what's hardest about entering things is like tasting it and going, is this semi-sweet, is this dry, or is this sweet? Because it is based on your own palate. Still, at the end of the day, you have to decide which category does it fit in, and then if you give it to whoever, and they say, no, actually, I think this is sweeter than that, who's right,
Yeah.
It's still based on the palate. So that story, though, 150 years of mead making.
5 generations.
That's pretty cool. That's a Guinness World Record. That's
you gonna pass mead making on to your offspring?
I don't know. I got 145 more years to continue that legacy. So.
And then they'll be at 300.
Yeah. And then for right now, if they keep it going, no one's winning.